What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. Dan Kasper Show is on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com, where you can stream it, catch the YouTube video link, or get the YouTube video link up there. Otherwise, it's up on Facebook and Twitter as well. Google and Alexa home devices and your sports talk app. Not the Victory Monday that most of us, I should say, because not all listeners are Pats fans. Get that, totally get that. But for the majority, not the Victory Monday that we had all expected. Packers falling late to the Detroit Lions last night, meaning their season is officially over. Punching the ticket for Seattle to get final playoffs last night. So, with it not being that Victory Monday, guess it's kind of a little bit of a therapy session Monday coming at you. Oh man, yeah. So I mean, might as well if you got some stuff you want to get off your chest, kind of I guess a Monday version of grind my gears, if you will. But let's start to hear it. You can hit us up with some texts if it's want to get something off your chest. Hit us up with some texts on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. But yeah, where do we begin? Man, oh man. And of course, now get ready for the topic of the off season. Will 12 return? Will 12 retire? What's going to be the plan for him after the game last night? So, I mean, if you stayed up for the whole thing and all the way until as he walked off the field, him and Randall Cobb arms around each other. There was a clip. I think it was Garrett Wilson asked for his jersey. Aaron saying, "No, I'm going to hold on to this one." Now, your people are speculating. What does he mean by that? Is that his final game one sort of thing? And comments post game press conference. I don't know, but let's give it a little bit here because the emotions. Let's just let them temper down here for just a hot minute. But that will be the speculation, the talk, and the chatter all off season here. All off season, but sucked us back in, didn't they? Man, oh man, sucked us back into that final regular season game. Just 16 points. Packers again, their red zone woes coming back to haunt them. Couldn't punch in any touchdowns. Just field goals in the first half. And finally, just one touchdown in the third when they fell behind, and then nothing in the fourth quarter. Absolutely nothing. The Lions right now, I don't know. They've got something against Green Bay. They got their number. Something's clicking with them. Kirby Joseph especially finally got a pick. He should have had 3 of them again last night against Aaron Rodgers. He was the dude that had a game in the first game of the season too, but for whatever reason, he could sniff out a couple of those routes to Aaron Jones and such. Aaron might have had to put those on a little bit more of a line there, but man, oh man, he's got their number right now. Whew. Christian Watson, 5 catches for 104 yards. Aaron Jones, just 12 carries for 48 yards. Rodgers, 17 of 27. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jared Goff, 23 of 34. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Former Packer Jamal Williams, 16 carries for 72 yards. So we'll get through this together. Get a little therapy session coming up here in just a few minutes on that opening drive here this morning. So, and then outside the Aaron Rodgers question, what is the biggest question mark, or I guess maybe the biggest unknown again besides Aaron, as the Packers now begin their off season. So playoffs are set. The brackets are set. Today we'll probably see some more, possibly I should say, possibly more head coach firings across the league as it's kind of labeled Black Monday out there. But late last night, Lovie Smith was let go. Another one and done for the Texans the last couple of years, coming from their head coaching position. So could there be more today? Possibly, but we'll see. But regardless, the playoff brackets, they are now officially set. If you didn't see them last night, well, here they are. So you can, I guess, kind of plan your weekends. Or maybe you're just staying away from football here a little bit. Who knows? The first game will be Seattle at San Francisco on Saturday, 3:30. Then the nightcap on Saturday is going to be the Chargers visiting the Jaguars. Sunday, we'll see Miami visiting Buffalo, the Giants at Minnesota for that 3:30 game. And then Sunday night, it's going to be Baltimore at Cincinnati. And then the Monday night game is going to be Dallas at Tampa Bay. So that's your playoff schedule for wild card weekend coming up here. We'll hit up on some other stuff too. It is the national championship game tonight, and I know we kind of touched on it last week, but I feel like every year it just kind of flies under the radar, or maybe there's not a whole lot of hoopla, excitement, and maybe a little overshadowed because, well, you're coming off the final weekend of the NFL regular season, so maybe kind of in the NFL shadow out there. But I mean, even if you go to the mothership, it's not on their top headlines. You got to scroll down a little bit there, and then it's on the front page with the national championship, and it's on ESPN there too. So, but TCU going up against Georgia. Can Georgia complete the undefeated season? Can TCU get the upset? So I want to know, though, do you even care when it comes to the college football national championship? Do you even care? Like, or are you of the mindsets like it's always like the same teams there every year? Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. So maybe that's kind of a little bit of a damper for you. But do you even care? Do you even pay attention? Do you watch the national championship? Or is it just kind of one of those casual thing? Nothing else on. Put it in the background, or yeah, I'll watch it, but really it's not that big of a viewing habit. Or maybe you are a diehard, like, yep, look forward to this. Don't care who's in it. It's national championship, last game of the college football season. I'm in. Let's do it. But do you even care about the national championship? So we'll hit that up a little bit later on. Anybody going to pick TCU? Think they got a legit shot against Georgia tonight? And maybe that's kind of the other factor in this too. It's like, Georgia, TCU, great story about TCU, but you don't think they can hang with Georgia. So maybe that kind of dampers your thoughts heading into the game tonight. Bucks are going to be back in action too. They start their 4-game road trip, starting off with the New York Knicks tonight. Bucks coming off of an ugly loss against Charlotte on Friday. And after the game, Mike Budenholzer didn't really mince words, calling it kind of concerning right now with the way that the Bucks have been playing. Defensively, we have not been able to get the stops in those games. We dug ourselves a big hole early in those games. We haven't matched what it takes to be competitive in an NBA game on multiple occasions now, and it's concerning. That was the quote from Mike Budenholzer after the game. Giannis yesterday talking a little bit, chatting it up a little bit with the media, trying to kind of downplay it just a little bit there. Not trying to push the panic button or anything. But if you look at the NBA standings right now, in terms of the Eastern Conference, Bucks are still in that third spot, but falling back a little bit. I mean, they're 2.5 back from Boston, who's in that first spot. Brooklyn is still one game back. They're in that second spot. Then Milwaukee and Cleveland both 2.5 back, but Milwaukee holds the advantage due to win percentage right now. But Giannis saying there's no reason to panic right now. No reason to panic right now. So we'll hit up some Bucks chat a little bit later on here too. So we got studs and duds. I'm sure we will have a lot of the similar duds when we get to that around 8:05 this morning. But who's your studs? You can send those babies on over throughout the morning. We'll get to it all coming up around 8:05. We'll get to a little press pass coming up at 7:45. And then we'll end the morning with a little motivational Monday, even though maybe a little hard to get motivated right now. But let's rip off the Band-Aid here this morning. Let's recap the loss and the finale of this Packers season. Packers again falling to the Detroit Lions, and so let's just get a little therapy session going here, all right? And then besides the whole Aaron Rodgers, will he come back? Will he not? Question out there. What do you think is the biggest question or the biggest unknown or the biggest item that the Packers have to address this offseason? Is it defensive coordinator? Is it free agents or position wise? When you look at this team, well, what do you think besides the whole Aaron thing? And let's hear from you. You can start to text us, tweet, Facebook, or comment on the video stream if you like. So let's just get to it. We'll take that first break, and then coming up on the opening drive, Packer season in the books, one game short of making it into the postseason. We'll recap it. We need your help. Head to sportstalk1051.com to help us decide which brat flavor, which snack sticks flavor we're going to come up with the help from Mike's Star Market. We've gotten some good suggestions or good ideas so far, but we want some more. All right. So go to sportstalk1051.com and you might see a little bit of a different name on the menu and such, but just click on the enter and win tab. Okay. The enter and win tab on there. And you'll see with the icon with Mike's on there. It says help create our brat. All you got to do is click on that and then you just fill in your ideas, your recipes or your flavor ideas on what we should make for our brats and snack sticks. Now we're gonna have a couple brats coming up. One of them is gonna be made by Man Cave Light, or gonna have Man Cave Light with it, and then we'll do the snack sticks and the other brat. But we need your picks, and if we select your flavor ideas, well, then you're gonna win a gift card from Mike Star Markets too for all your help. So please do that. So we're going to keep that up for a little bit more. But if you haven't gotten your flavor ideas in, let's be a little creative. Open the mind and let's see what you got out there. All right. So upload those. Love to see more out there. It's been kind of fun reading your ideas uh, so far here. So, all right. Just got word that my little guy Hudson might be feeling like a lot of Packers fans out here this morning. Apparently, he just woke up, getting ready for school. First thing he asked if the Packers won last night. When told no, said I'm running away, and he ran back to his room and hasn't come out. So my 5-year-old is probably like a lot of Packers fans here this morning, and probably reacting the same exact way. So, what went wrong last night? What the heck happened last night? Well, where do we a lot of few things, right? On disciplined football, I mean, Quay Walker. I'll just tell you right now, in case you're not going to be listening at 8:05, Quay Walker is easily on my duds list. The guy was having a solid game. It was just kind of but there was people. I mean, I had a buddy of mine, the only person I'll talk to during a game. He's like, dude, Quay Walker is probably going to be like, looks like an all pro at some point in his career. A lot of people, Quay Walker was having himself good game. Then the stupid, stupid pushing an athletic trainer, the only player to be ejected 2 times this year, ejected from a game. What are you doing? I mean, come on, guy. That was just ridiculous and unacceptable. Ugh. When that happened, I'm just like, What are you doing?" And then, the Rasul Douglas. And I know he didn't get flagged for the whole, he didn't get flagged for the whole, pushing the I think Brandon I got sidetracked because I think Brandon filled out the rest of the schedule, and I told him not to touch that thing. That jerk, that's why Green Bay lost. He filled that thing out. What a jerk. Anyways, um, I know the flag wasn't for pushing the field or the ball away on that field goal attempt. It was for the slap though afterwards when he got shoved. It's like, what are we doing? Undisciplined crap again. Just stupid. Stupid things. And I mean, that wasn't the main thing with everything. I mean, you look at red zone inefficiency. I mean, 9 points coming off field goals right away, and not able to whatever get in the end zone. Green Bay has been. I think they are. I know the graphic came up in the game, and I'm sure they didn't improve their standings, but the worst in red zone. And then you look at the 2 games against Detroit this year. They were worse than worse. They were awful. But, you talk about one of the things in the offseason they figured out. Matt LaFleur after the game said, we're going to go through this thing as with the fine comb. He's like, success hides a lot of the stuff, but and kind of referring to the last couple years of having regular season success, maybe kind of hide some stuff, covers up some things. Gonna go through this, go through the whole entire operation with fine tooth comb. Well, you better figure out what's going on with your red zone offense right now because it is atrocious. It is absolutely garbage. Man, no offense to Mason Crosby or anything like that, Mason Crosby, love you, man, but I'd rather not see you kicking field goals. I'd rather see the team coming away with freaking touchdowns. I mean, and I know not having Devonta Adams kind of diminishes it a little bit, having a playmaker like that. But for whatever reason, it's just been poo-poo play calling when it comes to the red zone. Once in a while, we see the good play calls, and there's like one play that it almost works every time, but they can't do it every time. It's like that double fake, and then it's like the Mercedes loses wide open in the corner of the end zone sort of thing. It feels like that's the only successful play that they had in their red zone playbook. I know I'm kind of diminishing it there, but I mean, you've got how are you so bad when it comes to the red zone? I mean, come on. What are we doing? You got Aaron Jones, you got AJ Dillon, you got a couple of options at running back there. You got, Alan Lazard, who's a bigger wide receiver, Christian Watson, who's a bigger wide receiver. I don't understand how you can be so freaking bad. That's easily one thing that they have got to figure out in this offseason is how do you get better at that? Because even the last couple of years, last year wasn't great. I think Green Bay was it LaFleur's first year, maybe it was the second year with Tampa when they lost to Tampa in the NFC Championship game. They were one of the better teams in the red zone, but ever since in the last couple of years, it's just tanked. It's gone downhill. I mean, you look at some of the other stuff out there. Aaron Jones, just 12 carries for 48 yards, 4 yards per carry. Green Bay really thought I think they must have really thought that they had something with those end arounds or jet sweeps. First quarter alone, you had two of them from Christian Watson, two of them from Alan Lazard, which, the questionable play call on fourth down there to do that with Alan Lazard. They must have really thought that they had something there or that they could really expose something with those end arounds or jet sweeps, especially in the first quarter there. But you take away, Rodgers rushing it, 3 rushing attempts, Watson and Alan Lazard, and they're 4 total. And between Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, just 21 carries there. And they didn't, as a team that barely eclipsed over 100 yards. I mean, for going up against Detroit's defense, they should the way this Packers offense was kind of, coming off that Minnesota game and such, they should have been able to put up a lot more yards, a lot more points against Detroit. And, we could come up with excuses, we can point the fingers, and there's gonna be a bunch of different stuff that's just, we can point to. But it sure looked that and that was the one thing I was concerned about. I know everybody was like, "What's the advantage if Green Bay knows that they're in it?" If Detroit's eliminated before the game, and I'm like, I don't know, because then Detroit can kind of open up that playbook like, "Hey, what do we got to lose?" Play a little bit more motivated, play a little bit with a chip on their shoulder. It sure seemed like Green Bay at times was just, like, playing very passive, trying not to lose the freaking game. Trying not to lose it. And that was the frustrating part in the whole thing. I did Green Bay, looking at it, just 1 sack in the game. Just 1 sack. It came from the rookie, Devontae Wyatt. Only 3 quarterback hits. just 3. That compares to, like, 7. I mean, Detroit, especially on defense, to quote Dan Fouts and Waterboy, they weren't holding any last game of the season, can't hold anything back now. I mean, they were going after him. They were moving Aiden Hutchinson around the line, trying to get him the best opportunities. I mean, they really exposed that right side, whether it was Yash or Zach Tom over there, moving guys around, bringing the pressure. I mean, was it 3rd down and something, and you're bringing an all-out blitz? They were getting there. I mean, Green Bay couldn't handle it. Couldn't do anything with it. Gotta give Detroit a lot of credit. Gotta give them a lot of credit. They came in, punched Green Bay in the mouth. Green Bay had their shots. They had their opportunities. I think we all felt the same thing, just hanging around. Green Bay's letting them hang around, not coming away with touchdowns. It just felt like was it when they had 9 or something and, that fumble from Aaron Jones before the half. It felt like, okay, if Green Bay comes away with a touchdown here, I'm feeling pretty good about second half. I'm feeling pretty good. You get 16 points. You're feeling confident. You're feeling good. And I think if Green Bay maybe would have just gotten a touchdown earlier, maybe that they would have been this like felt the same way. It's like, all right, we're good. We got the first one off the board. Got the first touchdown on there. Now we ride. Let's roll. It just felt like, okay, just get the one tud. But they just kept letting them hang around, hanging around. And Green Bay got bailed out a couple times here. Let's not kid ourselves. When Joseph had the interception, was called back because of illegal hands to the face. I mean, there was it helped out a couple times there. They couldn't capitalize on it. Just a frustrating end, I know a lot of us didn't think they even had a shot when they were 4-8. Sucked us back in, 8-8, winning in at home at Lambeau against a dome team, right? And you can't take care of business. That's why I don't. It's frustrating. So, there's going to be a lot of questions to be answered in the offseason. Obviously, the big one's going to be whether Aaron Rodgers comes back or not. But outside of that, there's still a lot of big questions and a lot of items to be addressed. We'll get to some of those coming up here in just a little bit. But after the game, just a couple of quotes here from Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. But LaFleur says he does want Aaron back. He does want Aaron back, no question. Wants to see his quarterback back next year. Feels like, he will be back, but again, he said that's all up to 12 then. I just I it felt like I don't know, like the whole Randall Cobb thing, and maybe it was just because they know that maybe that's the last time those 2 will be on the field together. Who knows? Because Randall Cobb after the game says he doesn't know about his future, doesn't know, what plans to come back or not. Mason Crosby, for what it's worth, already said he wants to come back. So, Mason said he wants back. But before we get to some Rogers comments, LaFleur saying that they're going to look at every facet of our program with a fine-tooth comb. Success can cover up certain things. Everything has been pretty much exposed. Then Rogers saying afterwards, it's a little raw right now. Going to take the emotion of the decision and see where the organization's at before deciding. Says he still thinks he's got it. They struggled to fill the void from the Devontae Adams trade. A lot of the past success was taken for granted because of their connection. I think there's a lot of good young talent on this team. Said that the Packers are a couple players away from contending. Those players could be on the roster already. Kind of talking about maybe the potential of some of the younger guys or the rookies continuing to grow. Maybe one of the interesting things was he was asked about why the offense never got rolling. He kind of bypassed it, ignored the question a little bit, which led to some people, like if you're into the whole reading in between the lines sort of thing, that I don't know, you might have some certain thoughts on it. But yeah, kind of choked up a little bit at the end of his presser. We'll get to that clip coming up just after the break. That'll be up here. But uh, and another interesting quote I thought from Aaron too was he says there's a feeling that the Packers could go young at quarterback, but nothing more than a feeling, as in like nothing has been said to him. I think to assume it's a foregone conclusion that they want me back would be slightly egotistical. So I'm going to be a realist here. He also said that the $59 million guaranteed to him next season would not prevent him from retiring this offseason, mentioning he's already been blessed to accumulate, quote, generational wealth. Yes, I could definitely walk away from that. So there you have it. Just some of the quotes. Again, we'll play the his final kind of comments, if you will, after the presser last night. Kind of choked up a little bit there, but oh, I thought for sure he was coming back. And kind of watching last night, like, oh man, this feels different. But again, maybe it's just the emotion, the emotions being raw, coming off that loss. That it's and that's the thing, man, too. Like I think a lot of us maybe don't realize, 4-8, they go on this run, they put them in a position, win it in, and then it's all done. The finality of sports, it just hits you right there. I mean, it comes that quick. The emotions are raw. It sucks. Like, I mean, we feel it as fans, but as players, it's like that, and it's done. It's over with. I don't want to try to read too much into, well, is it the end or not? Looks like it was the end, but let's let the emotions kind of die down here a little bit. But going back to original question, what the heck went wrong? Well, a lot of things went wrong. Felt like the Green Bay was outcoached a lot of times in the game. I felt like they played a little too passive, especially in the offensive side of things. Undisciplined football when it comes to obviously Quay Walker and like Rasul Douglas dropped balls a couple times last night. Aaron got bailed out a couple times on some missed throws or some misreads for whatever reason. Dude can't see Joseph out there when he's playing safety. I mean, it was a bunch of things that contributed to it. Felt like Green Bay was, I mean, in that first half, should have had at least a couple touchdowns up there and feeling pretty good, but they let them hang around and have the killer instinct. Foot was definitely not on the gas. Sure didn't feel like it last night. All right, we got to take a quick break. And we'll hear a little bit more from the quarterback after these words. We've gotten some weird weather so far this season here in Scotty, and it's had a big impact on some of our roads. Potholes, snow covered, ice, you name it. And that can wreak havoc on your vehicle too. Just the other day, I hit a big pothole, didn't even notice it. It's just holding my breath every time you hit a pothole or you hit a rough road pretty hard there, and you're just kind of holding your breath. You're crossing your fingers that nothing went wrong with that tire, with your tire like a tie rod. I've busted the tie rods. It's not fun there, or maybe even something else. But if something does happen, or maybe something happened with your vehicle, I know I can go to ASAP Used Auto Parts for help. If I need to replace my tire or get new ones, ASAP Auto has me covered because I know from my own experience they have the best deals on tires in the Chippewa Valley. And if these winter roads did cause me to, have to find a new part for repair, I know I can save money on high quality used parts from ASAP Used Auto Parts, and I know they'll help me find the exact part I'll need or am looking for. Chances are we're going to be in for some more weird weather that will affect our vehicles. Just know that if you need help with finding a part, getting some tires or a battery, or just even getting an oil change, ASAP Used Auto Parts is there to help you out. Give them a visit today at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire. All right. The last question to Aaron Rodgers last night. Could it be the last question? That's the talk out there. Could it be the last question that Aaron answers as the starting quarterback for the Packers? And then he walks off right there, kind of choking up and such. So that was the sure. It just I don't know. Oh, he said Bob. He was talking to Rob, a good friend of the program, Rob there, and Rob had tweeted out it kind of felt similar to last year there a little bit. I don't. I feel like there was a little bit more emotion after the game last night from Aaron. I felt like there was a little bit more. And I could be reading too much into that, be speculating a little bit too much, but it felt like there was a little bit more emotion. That's just maybe that's just what I felt. I really did. I don't know what the plan's gonna be for him. We don't know. He doesn't even know at this point. And I know there's a lot of, frustration maybe with Aaron, and if we ever and whenever we do get to that point when it's his career's over with and it's all said and done. I hope at least the majority, if not all, Packers fans will have at least an appreciation for his career as starting quarterback, for the Packers and such. But I get it, there's people frustrated with his play this year. There's people frustrated with the Packers' play overall, and let's face it, they did not hit expectations. There was high expectations, not only from the fans, but there was high expectations placed on this team, the front office, from the coaching staff. They thought they had a team that could go and compete for a Super Bowl. They didn't even get to the postseason this year. There's failures all around this group. There's failures from the front office. There's failures from the coaching staff. There's failures from the players. Majority of us all thought that they were, soon as they did that new contract with Aaron Rodgers, like, all right, it's all in. Trading away Devontae Adams was a hit for sure. Took a little bit of the wind out of the sails, right? But we all thought, "Hey, the defense, this is gonna be a top 5 unit." Look at across the board. They've got depth. They've got players at every single level. The defensive line's got depth, and Clark's gonna get some help. They drafted Quay Walker, Devondre Campbell's coming off an all-pro season, named an all-pro, gets a new contract. Secondary's easily the strength of the defense because, I mean, look at those guys over there. You got Rashawn Gary, who's emerging, Preston Smith's coming back. We're all pumped by the defense. Why the failures then? Was it because we were duped by what the talent is actually there? Was it because of the coaching staff? That's what Matt LaFleur has to figure out, and Matt LaFleur has to figure out his offense too. We all knew that there was gonna be some growing pains within this passing offense. You lose a guy like Davante Adams, you lose a big chunk of your plays. What, 60, 70%? Whatever the heck that number was that they were throwing out at the beginning of the year or throughout the whole offseason. You gotta change some stuff. You gotta adjust some stuff. There's gonna be growing pains with the young guys out there. The offensive line was kind of in flux at the beginning of the year. We knew that, but there was still it's not an excuse because there was still some just weird crap going on with the offense. The biggest one for me was the red zone. But all across the board, it's a failure. It's 100% a failure of the season. There's some positives to come out of it. Christian Watson looks like he's gonna have a good career. Romeo Dobbs, ever since coming back from his ankle injury, maybe didn't get enough a lot of looks or a lot of opportunities, but at the beginning of the part of the season, looked like, "Okay, there's some positivity there." So, I mean, there was some good stuff to come throughout the season. I mean, besides Quay Walker's idiotic, like, temper tantrums, it looked like his play was getting better. I mean, so there was some positivity. Zach Tom looks to be a starter in this league on the offensive line. The rookie class looks to be pretty decent for Green Bay. Let's see another year or 2 out of them. But you put all the chips on the table. Thought we had a lot of people thought, "Okay, this is it. This is the team that's pushing the chips in." A lot of fans wanted it. They wanted to see all the chips pushed in. Let's try to go for this thing. Maybe kind of mortgage the future a little bit, and that's exactly what Green Bay did. They mortgaged their future. Let's not kid ourselves. Whether Aaron comes back or not, that is a huge cap hit, and that hamstrings the team here a little bit. What they're gonna be able to do. They mortgaged that future, so they did what a lot of fans wanted them to do. Fail. Why did it fail? Well, maybe they overestimated the talent. Maybe they overestimated a 39-year-old quarterback that, you know, yes, they have younger receivers, but he's the reigning MVP, four-time MVP, back to back. Carry them. Maybe they overestimated that part. And that's not necessarily a knock on Aaron, but maybe they just overestimated what what was reasonable expectations. Defensively, I mean, was it the play calling? Was it the coaching, or was it overestimating the actual talent that they got? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They spent some money to keep Rasul Douglas, and I think that was a concern for a lot of people. I know I had it. I had no problem bringing back Rasul Douglas, but I think a lot of us like, okay, it's a lot of money for a guy who had a good season for Green Bay, but it wasn't a full 16 game season. You're betting a lot on that's going to be the typical Rasul Douglas. And I'm not saying he had a god awful year this year. He made some plays, but it was nothing like last year. But Goody took some risks this past offseason. When you do all the adding up and such, it didn't work out. It was a big failure. And now we've got a really interesting, a really how would you describe this offseason? That might be the question here. If you had to use like a phrase or a word to describe this upcoming offseason for the Packers, what would it be? I'd really be curious to hear, the adjectives that you guys can come up with. Unknown. Um, so what was Aaron's comment a year or 2 ago? My future is a great mystery or something like that, or I can't remember it off the top of my head right then, but how would you what word would you use or phrase would you use to describe this upcoming offseason? Because I think there's a big spotlight on it. They've got some tough questions that they gotta answer, decisions that they gotta make. If Aaron does come back next year If Aaron comes back next year, it's gotta be the same expect Super Bowl. So, alright, Aaron comes back. What do you have to do to improve this roster? What has to happen? Who do you bring back? We've talked about at length the Aaron Jones cap hits. You know, there's other decisions to be made. What do you do? Well, now we got couple months to figure this out. Actually, more than a couple months, a few months here. It's gonna be a long off season. I really feel like it's gonna be just a very, very long off season. All right, we got one in. Let's continue our therapy Monday. We got some sports nuggets of the day coming up after this break. All right, second hour kicking off on this Monday morning. Coming up, we're going to switch gears here just a little bit. Bucks fans, are you concerned with this, with the current direction of this team? Kind of echoing maybe a little bit of what Mike Budenholzer said last Friday after their loss to the Hornets, or are you more like Giannis yesterday where he said, not too concerned yet. Not too concerned. We'll get to that coming up just a little bit. Just kind of take a little bit of a breather from the green and gold, but definitely keep your thoughts coming. You can hit us up with a text if you'd like at 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com / Kasper Sports. Let's kick off this hour. No justice today, but so I'll try to do my best with some of the prep and local stuff there. But before we get to that, let's do some sports nuggets of the day. Brought to you by Yancey Insurance. Let's go 1918. The NHL announced a new rule that permitted goaltenders to leave their feet while making a save. Previously, a penalty was called if a goalie sat or laid on the ice to stop a puck. Did not know that. Did not know that. Did you guys know that? Interesting. Let's go with 1952. Jackie Robinson became the highest paid player in Brooklyn Dodger history. 1962, the NFL banned the grabbing of face masks. We've got what else do we got here? 1981, Phil Esposito announced that he would retire as a hockey player after the New York Rangers Buffalo Sabres game. That was in 1981. 1991, a special committee of Major League Baseball authorities officially banned Pete Rose from being elected into the Hall of Fame. 1998, the Hockey News magazine selected Wayne Gretzky as the best NHL player ever. That's a big hot take. And then we got, this day, 2005, Randy Moss pretended to pull down his pants and moon the Green Bay Packer crowd during a playoff win. January 13th, the NFL fined Randy Moss $10,000 for that act. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day, brought to you by Yancey Associates. Just kind of an overcap of some of the local stuff that's been going on the last couple of days. We go back to last Friday. If we do some Big Rivers basketball hot scores for girls, we had Eau Claire North defeating River Falls 49-43. Hudson taking down Rice Lake 53-47. New Richmond defeating Chippewa Falls 64-49. On the Clover Belt, we had Bloomer defeating Stanley Boyd in a good contest 60-59. Cochrane Fountain City and the Dairyland Conference beating Melrose Mindoro 70-47. Elsewhere, we had Elk Mound defeating Boyceville 58-19. Clayton defeating Lake Holcomb 55-53. Prairie Farm taking down Cornell 64-23. Somerset defeating Altoona 44-41. Prescott defeating Baldwin Woodville 64-46. Boys side of things, Memorial taking down Menominee 89-54. Eau Claire North River Falls defeating Eau Claire North 65-34. New Richmond taking down Chippewa Falls 70-63. Hudson defeating Rice Lake 57-55. Cloverbelt action. McDonald Central defeated Stanley Boyd 78-52. Bloomer in overtime taking down Fall Creek 56-54. I think Brandon was kind of talking about that game on Friday. Osseo Fairchild defeating Thorup 54-39. Then we had Owen Withy defeating Neilsville 72-57. Elsewhere, Alma Pepin defeating Gilmanton 64-55. Augusta 42-40 over Oliva Strom. Independence defeating Lincoln 44-40. And then we had Elk Mound defeating Boyceville 60-36. Mondovi taking down Glenwood City 71-53. Spring Valley defeating Colfax 81-69. Cumberland defeated St. Croix Falls 63-54. Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser defeating Hayward 45-39. Northwestern taking down Barron 98-55. 54. We had some blue gold action as well. Busy weekend for the Blue Golds. If we go back to hockey, women's going up against St. Norbert's women's hockey on the 6th. Yeah, so they split. So they played the 6th and the 7th. They split against St. Norbert. Their first game, they lost to St. Norbert 2-1, and then coming back on the 7th and defeating St. Norbert 4-2. Men's hockey going up against St. Olaf and St. Mary's. They picked up wins in both their games. Women's basketball falling to UW Whitewater on Saturday, but the men's picking up a 75-74 victory against UW Whitewater on Saturday. Women's basketball, though, for UW Stout. If we take a look over at Menominee, UW Stout, they picked up the win. It looks like here too. They take control of the WIAC right now. A little bit of a at the top is the only undefeated team remaining right now. UW Stout women's basketball. So, what else do we? Oh, speaking of the Blue Golds, kind of a cool story here with hockey. UW Eau Claire men's hockey. We got Quinn Green and Connor Schmoozle and head coach Matt Lone. They're heading off to Team USA at the 2023 FISU World University Games in Lake Placid, New York this week. So that's really cool. Congratulations to that trio over there. That's really cool. Very cool. So, and then the Steel, they split over Janesville this weekend too. So, but quickly going back to the to UW Stout women's basketball. They are the lone undefeated team in the WIAC. UW Eau Claire suffering their first loss. They're 3-1. UW Whitewater also 3-1 right now at the top of the conference. If you're looking at for the men's side of things, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Oshkosh, both tied at the top for WIAC standings for men's basketball. UW Stout sitting there at 1-3 with UW Stevens Point, UW River Falls. So those are just some of the scores and highlights from the past couple of days on the local side. Can't do as good of a job as Justice or Brandon, but just wanted to pass along some of the scores out there. So, all right. I was kind of looking during the break here too, and we'll switch up to the Bucks to cleanse the palate here for a little bit. But I was looking at some of the contracts and the cap hits for Green Bay in this upcoming offseason. And I mean, it's very top heavy when it comes into cap hits. So right now, according to SpotTrack.com, Green Bay is about $9.5 million over the cap currently. Right now, about $9.5 million over the cap. Now we don't know what the cap space is going to be this year. We're assuming it's probably going to be 10, 11, 12, maybe $13 million more than what it was this previous year. But as of right now, based off estimates, Green Bay is about $9.5 million over the cap. Again, according to SpotTrack.com. And it's very top heavy because Aaron Rodgers has 13.84% of that cap hit. Talking about 31.6, but David Bakhtiari is right behind him at $29 million. That's 12.72% of the cap. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, move on from him, cut him. It's going to cost Green Bay more. Now, you can split it with like the post-June 1st sort of thing. You can do that, but I think David Bakhtiari played some solid football when he was out there. I don't see Green Bay moving on from him. I do potentially maybe see some restructuring to alleviate maybe that $29 million cap hit. If they don't, it sure feels like that maybe this upcoming year is going to be David Bakhtiari's last year, because if you look at 2024, he's got a cap hit of just under 33 and a dead cap hit of only 11.5. So, but, you know, other players up there too, Kenny Clark, has a cap hit of about $24 million. That's over 10% of the cap. Aaron Jones, we talked about that. His cap hit, $20. Green Bay moves on from him. He's a cap casualty. They'll actually save about $10 million in cap space. But do you really want to move on from Aaron Jones? I don't want to move on from Aaron Jones. Jair Alexander, he's up there to 8.7% of the cap hit. Preston Smith's $13 million is just 5.71% of the cap. Rashawn Gary, but that's how top heavy this thing is. So Rashawn Gary, I'm assuming he's going to get a new contract. He's entering that 5th-year option phase of his contract where it's, the guaranteed, fully guaranteed, right? So his cap hits 4.77%, $10.9 million. And this is a tricky one, too, because he's coming off of an ACL. But you have to admit, he's going to be due for a new contract. According to SpotTrack, his calculated market value is 20.5. But, of course, if they sign him to an extension, they can lower that cap hit. Adrian Amos is 3.48%. Darnell Savage is 3.46%. Elton Jenkins, who just signed this new deal, he's only at a 3.8% of the cap hit. The player I'm kind of curious about is Rasul Douglas. Because looking at his contract, if Green Bay decides to move on from him, they would actually save some money. They'd save about $3 million, which isn't a ton, right? But if they don't do anything, I really feel like Rasul, this is going to be the final year for Douglas too, because unless he just goes out and balls out in 2023, because his cap hit in 2024 is just under $11 million. But if they were to move on from him, they'd save about almost $10 million. $10 million. So just kind of give you a glimpse of some of the decisions Green Bay is going to have to make, or some of the holes. That's why I'm glad I'm not Russ Ball or anything like that when it comes to figuring out salary caps and that sort of thing too. But yeah, it's very top heavy when you look at this. Very, very top heavy with just a few of the guys up at the top. You have 3 guys right now. If we did the math, let me bring up my calculator, because me and math, I can't do this in my head, but 3 guys alone, Aaron Rodgers, David Bakhtiari, Kenny Clark, count 37% of the cap. If we add in Aaron Jones and Jair Alexander, that's over 50, almost 55% of the cap comes from 5 guys right now. Aaron Rodgers, David Bakhtiari, Kenny Clark, Aaron Jones, and Jair Alexander. Whew. Over about 50, almost 55% of the cap coming from 5 guys. And they got to make decisions on Allen Lazard, Robert Tonyan. So we'll see. Adrian Amos, too. I wonder what his... So I'm kind of looking at it. He's got... what is this here? So he's got some void years potentially coming up in 2023. All right. He's got kind of one of those weird contracts on there, too. You kind of wonder, is maybe his time done in Green Bay? But, all right. We'll take a quick break here, and we'll kind of cleanse the palate here a little bit and talk some Bucks. Then we'll get back to some more Packers talk on this Therapy Monday. But, Bucks falling last Friday to Charlotte. Mike Budenholzer kind of saying it's concerning right now. Yesterday, Giannis downplaying it a little bit. Which side are you on? Are you on Mike Budenholzer's side, where you think it's concerning, or are you on Giannis's, where it's like, nope, not yet? They got a game tonight. They begin their road trip, 4-game road trip. Tonight's against the Knicks. Then Wednesday, Atlanta. Thursday, Miami. Saturday, Miami. So let's talk a little hoops. Talk a little Bucks. We'll take that break, and then kind of change it up just for a little bit. Just for a little bit. Then we'll get back to some football talk. It's time to get ready for wedding season, believe it or not. And if you are a business that helps make weddings those special occasions that they should be, River Country Co-op wants to help you showcase your business with the Tithe and a Wedding Fair going on Sunday, February 5th, hosted at the Sleep Inn and Suites in 29 Pines Conference Center. A booth space includes a table with skirting, 2 chairs, electricity upon request, and water and soda. Payments are due by January 13th, so you got to get that in, all right? And if you're a returning vendor, you'll receive a free ad space in the bridal passport. Just give the Eau Claire Sleep Inn and Suites a call, all right, and ask for Lily. Ask for Lily over there. But deadline's coming up if you're a vendor, all right? January 13th, payments are due. Get those babies on in. You only got a few more days there, all right? Maybe take a little bit of positivity if you're a green and gold fan and you're getting married. Maybe think about positivity there. I don't know. All right, switching gears here just a little bit. We'll get back to some football talk here. Don't forget, you can send over your studs and duds. We'll get to that at 8:05. We'll play a little press pass coming up about 7:45, 7:50. Press pass, if you have one question that you can ask anybody or anything in the sports world and get a truthful answer to it, well, what would it be? A 100% truthful answer. What would it be? You can play along with us and hit us up there. We'll get to a motivational Monday towards the end of the show too. So if there's anything that's motivating you, you can send those babies on over too. But Bucks coming off of a loss against Charlotte on Friday nights, starting a 4-game road trip. They've got the Knicks tonight. As we mentioned, Atlanta on Wednesday, then Miami both Thursday and Saturday. After the loss to the Hornets, and Hornets are not a very good team, but Mike Budenholzer said defensively, we have not been able to get the stops in those games. We dug ourselves a big hole early in those games. We haven't matched what it takes to be competitive in an NBA game on multiple occasions now, and it's concerning. So that was Friday after the game. Yesterday after practice, Giannis after practice said, we are going to lose some games, and we're going to win a lot of games. Even though we have not built the perfect habits, last night we were second in the East. It'll be a couple nights ago now. That's scary to me. I believe when everybody gets acclimated and people know their role, and when Joe is feeling good and making plays, and Chris comes back and he's being the bad man he is, and Drew is back and we're playing, running, having fun, and having all that click, I'll go to war. I'll go to battle any day. I'll take my chances with those guys any day. I'm proud of the group we have, but we have to be better. I believe my teammates understand that, and we are going to be better. There was an article posted up on Forbes earlier this morning talking about how the Bucks should use the Packers as a cautionary tale. Now, it's a quick read here, but basically the gist of it is that, kind of similar where Aaron Rodgers, you had that quarterback there looking good. You win a championship. You're expecting more championships, and, only one. And it might only be one at this point. So the writer of this, Brian Sampson, kind of saying, don't fall in the same trap if you're the Bucks. You got aging, maybe roster surrounding Giannis. About Middleton 31, Drew Holiday 32, Brooke Lopez 34, Joe Ingles 35, Pat Connington 30. Saying it won't be long until the Bucks front office has to make some difficult personnel decisions that could begin this offseason when Chris Middleton has a $40 million player option. Giannis recently spoke to the media about how they are focused on building good habits. He tried to quiet the anxious storm he felt around the team in their recent blowout losses. It was yet another inspiring speech and a growing list of them. One word of caution to Giannis: sometimes urgency is a good thing. He will not always be surrounded by this level of talent and be the most physically dominating player in the most athletic league in the world. If the Bucks aren't careful, they could be left standing with just one championship trophy, just like their neighbors to the north. So, my question to you, Bucks fans, are you concerned about your football team right now? Yay or nay? They're currently third in the Eastern Conference. Both them and the Cavs, 2.5 back from the first place Boston Celtics. Bucks holding on a little bit advantage because of win percentage. But are you concerned right now from what you have seen from this Bucks team, or are you of the mindset too that, you know what, it's just a bad stretch? Teams go through these bad stretches once in a while. It happens. All right. It's gonna happen. I'm not that panic button yet. I tend to believe Giannis a little bit more. Now, I think both sides, if I don't think there's any back and forth between Giannis and Budenholzer. I hope nobody's thinking that. It's like, oh, Budenholzer said this, and now Giannis saying this, or they kind of button heads. I hope nobody's going, kind of saying that. I think both are saying the exact things that they should be saying. As a coach, as Mike Budenholzer, yeah, he's got to be going out there saying, hey, guys, we got to shape up. This is concerning. What we're doing, we got to kick it into gear. Yeah, we've gotten some injuries. Guys are missing time, but that's not an excuse. We got to do better. We got to do our jobs better. And then Giannis, as a leader of this team, as a player, kind of saying the same thing. Hey, we're not panicking yet. I got confidence in my teammates. I'm sure he's been made aware of the chitter chat out there that maybe there's some drama or some chemistry issues with the team and such. He's going out there as a player leader and saying, I trust my guys. I'll go to war with my guys. We're good. We'll lose some games, but we're going to win a lot. They're both playing their roles. Budenholzer as the coach, telling the guys, hey, shape it up. We got to do better. Giannis, it's like a good cop, bad cop type of feel. Hey, yeah, we got to play better, no doubt, but we're good. We'll be good. We got this. So I hope nobody is really kind of saying, "Ooh, got to be a little drama. There must be a little drama between Budenholzer and Giannis." Nah, not buying that. And I hope nobody else is really buying that. But there's no doubt this has been a yucky poo-poo stretch for this Bucks team as of late. No doubt. I mean, the proof is in the numbers. The proof is in the standings. Bucks are 4-6 in their last 10. This is a top-heavy Eastern Conference. And I think that's probably where some of the concern is coming from. Is that, Bucks are 9 games above 500. They're 25-14. But with a top-heavy conference and the way that, Brooklyn has been playing as of late, they're hot, right? They're playing really good basketball. Boston has just been consistent. They've been solid throughout the whole season. Bucks started off hot, right? I mean, they set the bar so dang high when they started off that season. Middleton wasn't even playing. Connaughton wasn't even playing right away. Joe Ingles wasn't playing. And the Bucks were they were dominant right away. They were winning a bunch of games. And it's kind of cooled down here a little bit. So I think that's a lot of it. It's maybe a little anxiousness, a little bit of like, oh crap, what's going on now? I'm confident that the Bucks will turn it around. They're going to go through a stretch where they're going to win some games. They're going to stay in that top 4, top 5 in the Eastern Conference. Those top 5 being Boston, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Philly. Philly's in the 5 spot. They're just 3.5 back. It's going to be like this throughout the entire season. I really think the Eastern Conference is going to be a battle between those 5, positioning amongst those 5. And with the trade deadline coming up, and what is it? Yeah, a month from today. Well, it's going to be a competition, not only with, the Eastern Conference teams above, but, you look at the Western Conference too. Denver, Memphis, New Orleans, Dallas even. If any teams are selling, price tag's pretty high because you got a lot of teams in competition. And right now, probably a lot of teams that view themselves, we can win this thing. we can win the NBA Finals. Let's make some improvements. Let's make some moves that maybe take us over the hump. So if there's a team out there that's like selling, price is going to be high because you got these teams that are going to be competing against each other for some trades, for some player acquisitions. And we're just a couple. If you're looking at the Bucks, the amount of games that they've played, we're almost to the 50% mark. We're almost halfway there. Bucks have played 39 games. 41's the halfway mark. And I think if you're just like, I'll be curious to see how these shake out by the end of the season. We talk about home court advantage. And I know we touched on this a few weeks ago, that the discrepancy from a lot of teams right now with home and away records. And you look at the Eastern Conference, Boston is fairly consistent whether they're home or away. Home 15-5, away 13-7. Brooklyn 13-5, 14 and away. Then it becomes a little bit more dicey. Milwaukee 16-5, they're 500 on the road. They're 9-9. Cleveland 18-4 at home, 8-11 on the road. Philadelphia 16-6 at home, 8-9 on the road. You even go to the Western Conference. Denver is 16-3 and Memphis is 16-3 at home. Both those teams 500 on the road, 10-10. New Orleans 17-5 at home, 7-11 on the road. Dallas 16-6 at home, 7-12 on the road. It's sure shaping up that this year, both in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, home court advantage is going to be so crucial. Because outside of Boston and Brooklyn, when you're looking at some of the cream of the crop teams, the top teams, besides Boston and Brooklyn, everybody else has been at least average at like 500 or below average on the road. So you kind of wonder, because the last couple of years or last few years, maybe your team's like, okay, just make sure you get your home court the first round and, feel good about that. But you kind of wonder now with some of these records and some of how these teams have played on the road, it's like, oh man, maybe we really need a home court advantage throughout. Play a whole lot different. And if you're into the point differential statistic out there, amongst the top 5 in the Eastern Conference, the Bucks have the lowest one right now, 1.2. Boston's at a 5.9. They've got the highest in the Eastern Conference. In fact, there's only 6 teams in the East that have a positive point differential. And the Bucks are the lowest of all the positives. New York, who's in the 7th spot, 2.9. Indiana is right at 0. Comparison's sakes, the Western Conference, all top 5 of their teams are in the plus, including Phoenix, who's in the 8th seed, and then the Utah Jazz, who are actually on the outside looking in from the top 10 after their fast start, but they're still at just barely 0.7. So I'm not overly concerned. It's a rough stretch right now for the Bucks. I think Budenholzer and Giannis are saying the exact things that those two need to be saying at this point in time. They know that they got to play better. They know it's not time to necessarily push the panic button. They're going through some injuries. Guys are missing time. If there's one thing I'm still concerned about, it is going to be Middleton in that knee. Can he get on the court? Can he stay on the court? That's the only thing that I'm really concerned about right now. And just, Holiday and his health too. He's been missing some time. Can he stay out there and kind of get back to playing shape? All right. We're going to take a quick break. Then we got a little press pass coming at you. You can ask one question to anybody in the sports world, and you are going to get a 100% truthful answer believe it or not, you will get a truthful answer. What would it be? Sure, a lot of people picking one for Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to go a little bit of a different route on mine. It's still with the green and gold, but I'll let Aaron get a pass on this one from me. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll go through a little press pass as we finish up the second hour before we get to studs and duds just past 8 o'clock. We'll be back after these quick words. Maybe to help ease off some of the pain from last night, head on over to Hy-Vee and grab yourself a couple of man cave lights from the bar over at Wahlburgers there. Put them in some crawlers and take them home with you, or have one at the bar at Wahlburgers there. And while you're doing a little shopping at Hy-Vee, don't forget pick up some Dan Good burgers back in the meat department over there. All right, do it up. Grab some burgers, grab some beer. You'll be ready to go, and it'll smooth out some of that pain maybe you're feeling this morning. A little therapy session there. So, all right, we got 10 minutes to the top. Let's do a little press pass if the button wants to work. Gosh, our technology. So a lot of people, they'll probably pick the easy one and just like, okay, you're getting a 100% truthful answer. They'd probably go to Aaron Rodgers and be like, dude, what are you doing? What's your plan? I'll go a little bit of a different route on that one just because that's the easy way out. I'll go to Matt LaFleur and his comment about, going through this program with a fine tooth comb. If he could pick one thing that he really wants to deep dive, he talked about going deep dive into that program. If there's one thing that really stood out to him this season that he wants to deep dive into it and try to figure out or try to fix, what would it be? Like if he could power rank him, if he could rank them in terms of like, okay, I gotta figure out what the heck happened, or this is the one thing that has just kind of like reared its ugly head throughout the season that we got to figure out or we got to fix. What would that be? I'm curious to know LaFleur views as perhaps the biggest question that he needs to answer in this offseason. I'd like to know what Matt LaFleur thinks. Is it red zone offense? Is it defensive issues? Is it the undisciplined nature at times from this ball club? There's a few different areas, but I'd like to know what his number one would be. We'll keep you posted if anything else kind of pops through. Today is also a day too of well, a lot of people losing jobs. And I know it's easy for fans to go say, fire this coordinator, fire that coordinator, this, that, fire that coach, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they make a lot of money. But you know what? These are still people losing jobs, people uprooting families and their kids. So let's try to have a little decorum. Let's try to have a little respect with that when we, like, oh, thank gosh they fired that guy, or awesome that they let go of that person. Good riddance. Let's try to have a little decorum and a little respect too, because yeah, they may make some decent money, but it's the families that get uprooted and the kids that sometimes have to, hop from school to school and all that sort of stuff. So that's just my little thing saying, because I know it's going to happen. I know some people have already been kind of saying, fire this person, fire that guy when it comes to the Packers and such. But, it's not just the coaches' lives that, kind of get changed and uprooted in that. It's the kiddos and, some of the other family members too that, they've, the kids didn't agree to all that, moving around and that sort of thing. So just, you know, keep that in the back of your mind there a little bit too. Okay. Just try to keep that in the back of your mind too, because a lot of people are probably going to be losing some jobs this morning. Lovey Smith, we already know, lost his job. Looks like the Browns are firing their defensive coordinator, Joe Woods. I'm sure there's going to be more that's going to happen in the next, well, today or the next coming days here. I know, maybe some teams out there like, well, we know like Broncos, they're looking for a new head coach. Colts, probably looking for a new head coach. I can't imagine that they would keep Jeff Saturday, but who knows? I guess. Who knows at this point? Excuse me. Maybe some other openings out there like Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury. Washington. I don't know about Washington. That's a tricky one. Carolina, unless Steve Wilkes gets promoted. But I feel like their owner Dave Tepper is going to want to make a big splashy move and get a name coach out there. Rams, I mean, there's talk that Sean McVay could just step down and step away. So they might have an opening. So we'll see in the next, well, today or the next couple days here. As the nickname for this day has been Black Monday for a lot of these coaches, but also the families. Remember, it's a lot of it's families that are involved in this too. So, but anything pops up, we'll keep you posted on there. It is the national championship tonight. Do you care? Do you even care that the national championship for college football is tonight? Because I always feel like I say this every year, but I always feel like it gets overshadowed. It gets overshadowed a little bit. And whether that's because it's coming off of, like the last couple years with the, expansion of the regular, coming off of the last regular season weekend of the NFL. Before that, maybe, with the wild card weekend and such, gets a little overshadowed in that essence. Or maybe it's just some fans are tired that it's usually mostly the same teams in it. Or in this case, maybe some people just view Georgia as clearly the most dominant team out there, or clearly a more dominant team than TCU. So maybe they're like, yeah, I'm not too amped up for this game. I'm not too excited. If it was Georgia versus Michigan, would you be a little bit more? I mean, because people are probably looking at like, oh, the spreads, it's gone down a little bit. More money going to TCU, but it's still 12 and a half. I mean, nobody likes to see a 12 and a half line, 12 and a half spread championship game. Nobody wants to see that. They want to see, one, even, half, even two or something like that. I don't want to see that. But I'll pay. I'll watch it. We're paying attention to it. But I do think it loses a little bit of luster. It gets a little overshadowed. It's kind of, for a national championship game. College football is like a top 5 most viewed sport in America, in the world, and yet I feel like their national championship game doesn't come with a lot of fanfare, with a lot of, like, hoopla or excitement leading up to it. And again, maybe it's just because it gets overshadowed from the NFL. I think that's a very reasonable take, reasonable argument that it gets overshadowed that, well, it's the day after either, the final week of the regular season or maybe even a playoff game from, after just a couple years ago. It's NFL's king. Whether you like the NFL or not, it's king. You can't deny with the numbers. There was a number that came out. I was talking to Brandon about it off the air on Friday, and we didn't mention it, but there was a study done of the 100 most viewed programming shows, whatever. Yeah, here. Top 100 most watched US TV broadcasts of 2022. 82. 82 of the top 100 were all NFL games. 82. They held the top they held 19 of the top 20 spots on them. 7th was political programming. 24th was political programming. 34th was college football. 36th was the Winter Olympics. 37th, college football. 38th was the World Cup. 40th was the Thanksgiving Day Parade. 41st, college football. 47th, political programming. 59th, World Cup. These are individual games. They didn't tell, this graphic doesn't tell you which games they are. 67th, college basketball. 68th, political programming. 71, college basketball. 72, college football. 76, college football. 77, the Academy Awards. 88, Kentucky Derby. 93, World Cup. But 82 out of the 100, NFL. It's king. You can be frustrated as much as you want to be about the NFL, but it is king. You still watch it. You still watch every single game, or at least majority of the country does. So, should also mention South Dakota States battle of South Dakotas versus North Dakota. South Dakota State wins their first FCS title over North Dakota State. So it's a different Dakota celebrating a national championship. Little rivalries going back and forth between North Dakota State and South Dakota State. That would have been nice to have Justice kind of talking a little bit about that since he's from the Dakotas over there. But yeah, South Dakota State kind of hammer North Dakota State there a little bit. So I know we got some of the local athletes have gone over to whether it's been NDSU or South Dakota State there too. But those two programs have hit Wisconsin, Western Wisconsin over here for a lot of the prep athletes there. But yeah, good to see the Dakotas well represented in the FCS. But South Dakota State wins their first football championship subdivision title. All right, 2 hours in, we got a couple more to go. We'll kick off the 8 o'clock hour with little studs and duds after these quick news updates. All right, here we go. Final hour on this Monday morning. Dan Kasper Show's on the air. Appreciate you all tuning in, however and wherever you may be tuning in. Radio dials, couple of those, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online at sportstalk1051.com. You can stream it there or get the link for the YouTube video. Otherwise, the video streams up at facebook.com and Twitter. Of course, Google and Alexa home devices in the Sports Talk app. We're going to get back to some more green and gold chats, but my question for you Packers fans, besides the Aaron Rodgers, will he come back? Will he not come back thing that, will be the topic of conversation throughout the whole NFL offseason. What do you think is the biggest offseason question that Green Bay has on their hands right now? What do you think is the biggest question that's in front of Green Bay right now? Let's think about that for a little bit. You can hit me up with a tweet, Facebook, or whatever. All right. Let me know what you're thinking on that one. Let's do some studs and duds though. Let's do that. All right, studs and duds. If you haven't sent yours on over and you want to play along, you can do so. We'll get to those, or we'll get to yours coming up a little bit later on here. I'll kick it off with. I'm actually going to start off with some duds first, and I already said it in the 6 o'clock hour, but my dud is Quay Walker. I get it. He's a rookie. He's a young guy. He's got a lot to learn, but ejected twice this year for shoving. What the Buffalo game he shoved was an assistant coach or a practice squad player, and then yesterday, shoving an athletic trainer from Detroit as the athletic trainer was trying to check on Swift, who was the injured Detroit Lion player. Dude, okay, you didn't like somebody touching you. You didn't like somebody trying to get by you. You don't have to resort to shoving all the time, pushing away. Do better. And then that whole there could have been three personal foul penalties on that play. I think everybody thought Reed was going to get flagged because that forearm to the helmet. You had that. You had Quay Walker. And then if you see the replays out there a little bit, Wyatt could have been flagged too because it sure looks like he intentionally kind of like bumps or walks into that athletic trainer after Quay Walker shoved him. The discipline from some of those dudes, and that falls directly on coaching. There is some sort of, well, no, there isn't some sort. There is some personal responsibility, So one thing we're trying to teach our 5-year-old right now is personal responsibility. Personal responsibility in terms of like picking up your stuff and taking your dishes to the sink. But personal responsibility to act like a professional out on the football field. For crying out loud. What are you doing? What are you doing? The second time Quay Walker has been ejected. There's been a few times he's been flagged with stupid and idiotic personal foul penalties. I don't get it. Just dumb. Dumb. That's my dud. My studs. I'm going to go with, I feel like I keep highlighting them at some sort, whether it's stock reports or whatever. But my studs, I'm going with Badger football coaching staff right now. The bat signal, or I should say the Luke Fickell bat signal, was thrown out there a couple times over the weekend. Badgers are picking up some offensive linemen, and they had some receivers visiting this weekend too. But Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator for the Badgers, 12 hours ago during that Packer game last night, kind of like it was right after the Fickell bat signal tweeted. And you usually after that, if you don't know what that is, Luke Fickell will tweet like a Badger video. It's always the same Badger like hype video. And it's kind of being termed as like the bat signal, like, okay, there's going to be an announcement coming of a player coming or something like that. And usually shortly after, there's like a player tweeting that he's coming to Wisconsin or whatever have you. So it's cool. It's a little fun thing. But Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator for the Badgers last night, tweeted out five, five, five more weapons coming to Madison. Badgers getting better every day. Hashtag don't blink. Hashtag Madison momentum. Hashtag Badger Nation. Hashtag 237 days. 5 weapons. I mean, this team has been. I think you got to give Luke Fickell and this coaching staff a lot of credit for what they've been able to do through the transfer portal by bringing in some of these players. I mean, let's face it, a few weeks ago, it was looking like, oh man, are they going to have enough guys? Like it sure seemed like guys were just leaving town, and that's we expect that a lot of times when it comes to college football programs or basketball programs. All right, new coach, those guys who originally committed to that coach or that coaching staff, they're out of there, so they're going to look somewhere else because they don't know these new coaches coming in. It's all based off relationships, and a few weeks ago, it was like, man, Wisconsin is just like, what's going on here? But you got to give them some credit because this staff has been hitting that transfer portal. And I know Luke Fickell said, in his introductory press conference that, he wants to be able to recruit, doesn't, really always want to rely on a transfer portal. But I think, first year by losing some of these guys and coming in, yeah, you kind of have to bring in some new talent based off this transfer portal. And some of the guys are coming from Cincinnati. But like Jake Renfro, the center from Cincinnati, offensive lineman from Cincinnati. He announced he was committing to Wisconsin last night. He has 19 career starts, 21 appearances. In 2021, he earned first-team All-AAC honors as a sophomore. So, I mean, this Badger offensive line is even getting some depth on there now. So far, the Badgers have picked up 6 players from the transfer portal. And the thing is, I think they've got a few more coming. Obviously, I mean, Phil Longo said 5. 5 more weapons coming. I'm expecting a couple of wide receivers, some of those wide receivers that we talked about last week. I wouldn't be surprised if they hit double digits in the transfer portal. In fact, I think that's probably going to be kind of expected at this point. But my studs right now are the Badger football program or the Badger football coaching staff because they are doing exactly what they need to be doing. Not only getting in the talent for this team, but firing up the fan base. They've got this fan base excited. This fan base that was set on Jimmy Leonard, like Mr. Badger. He's going to coach this team. He's going to be the new man. He's going to lead, the Badgers to improvements and back into the Big Ten. And then when it wasn't announced he was going to get the job, there was a little disappointment. You feel bad for Jimmy, yet you're cautiously optimistic about Luke Fickell because of his background at Cincinnati and such. But what this coaching staff has done has fired up this fan base right now. They've got these fans excited, pumped up about what could be the future of this Badger football program. Coaches are excited. Fans are excited. Players are pumped. And I think now we're just like, hey, let's get this show on the road. We want to see this in action now. Let's do it. So those are my studs. Majority, yeah. Do have Living Dream Jeff, who did pick rolling with TCU tonight. But I've got Georgia winning tonight. I just hope it's a good game. I hope it's not a blowout, unless it's a TCU blowout over Georgia, because then that would be pretty funny and pretty cool. But I want it to be a good game. I know it's a lot to probably, try to expect what we saw in the playoffs between Michigan and TCU and Georgia versus Ohio State. I mean, those games set the bar extremely high. If we are in for that tonight, that's a huge win. But I think there's a lot of people just expecting Georgia to blow TCU out of the water. I mean, look at we went through the spread. It did go down a little bit. I think it was 14.5 late last week. It's down to 12.5. More money's going into TCU right now. But everybody's, I think, expecting a comfortable win for Georgia tonight. And I think if you're TCU, you're playing that card. You're like, hey, nobody thinks we got a shot. Nobody's giving us a shot. Everybody thinks that we're going to get our butts creamed, wipe the floor. You got to use that, right? I mean, that's like the easiest motivating thing as a coach. It's like, hey, literally nobody is picking us. Nobody's giving us a shot. Let's not hold, let's just go out there and open up the playbook. We got nothing to lose. All the pressure's on Georgia to win this game. It's not on us. It's like the easiest thing as a coach right now. I mean, to go in there and say all that stuff. So I hope it's a good game. I hope it's a competitive game. I mean, if TCU goes out there and makes this a competitive game and in fact wins this game, can you imagine the reaction from college football? Can you imagine? No longer can you say, should a program like TCU, well, should they be in that top 4 or top 8 when it gets to that? That's still a thing when we go through the college football playoff. Well, TCU, should they be up there? I don't know. Do they have a better resume than Alabama? Are they better than Alabama? TCU wins tonight. You can no longer use that argument. Just because they're not a program like a Georgia or an Alabama or an Ohio State. In fact, I mean, I think a lot of us outside of Georgia are probably rooting for TCU. I want TCU to win this thing. I want a little chaos. I want a little bit of a mix-up. I hope the Horned Frogs can get it done. I don't think they will. I'll be rooting for them. I think Georgia's going to take care of business in double digits. In fact, I think they probably win by 17. I'll take over on 12.5 right now. But, man, I hope TCU can shock the world and pick up that W against Georgia. That'd be awesome. That would be really awesome. All right, so tell you what, let's take a quick break here. And then I threw out the question, so let's see if we got any answers. Besides the whole Aaron Rodgers, will he, won't he come back? We know that's going to be talked about now from it started last night. I mean, heck, it was starting before the game. Let's be real. And it will last all the way until probably March. Because that's when he decided last year, right? With the new contract and such. Probably then. He said again last night he's not going to hold him hostage and that. But it's probably going to be at least a month. And let's be realistic. It's going to be at least after the Super Bowl, I would think. But other than the Aaron Rodgers question, what is the biggest question that Green Bay has in front of themselves this year? And I will allow this. It can be related to Aaron. If Aaron does, maybe your biggest question is, hey, if Aaron comes back, what do they do with Jordan Love? Can they convince him to ride the bench for one more year? Or should they trade him? A lot of teams need some quarterback help. I think we saw that this year. A lot of teams need some quarterback help. Maybe the price right now for Jordan Love's actually a little bit higher than what it was at the beginning of the year. I don't know. I'm just throwing out stuff now. But what do you think is the biggest question? Besides whether Aaron's coming back or not. We'll take that break. And we'll go through some of them. We'll come up with a list, right? We'll be back after these updates or these news or updates. Yeah. We'll get another episode of the Man Cave podcast up later on this morning. Podcast brought to you by our good friends at Hy-Vee, good friends at Toyson Ford. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the podcast on your favorite podcasting platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, you name it, all that good stuff. So, but yeah, don't forget. And if you do have the ability, depending on which platform that you have, don't forget to give it a positive review or like 5 star or anything like that, so other people can find the podcast if they want. So, but don't forget. Well, we usually try to get an episode up every day, some highlights of the show, um, new original content on there too. So we try to do that every day for you all. So, okay, biggest question, biggest question that you think is out there for Green Bay, besides the Aaron Rodgers one, besides if Aaron Rodgers is coming back or not? What do you think are some of the biggest questions out there surrounding this team? Let's come up with a list here. I think one of them too. I'm just gonna in no particular order. We kind of went through some of this the contract stuff in the first hour, so I don't want to revisit. I don't want to revisit any of that and all that stuff. But however, I think one of them is Aaron Jones. They've got to figure out. I want Aaron Jones back. Aaron Jones deserves to be back. I want to see him back. But what is that at what cap hit? Because right now he's at a $20 million cap hit. And it's no fault to Aaron Jones. But if they were to release Aaron Jones, if they were to move on from him, they would save almost about between $10 and $11 million. Again, I want Aaron Jones back, but can they bring him back at that cap hit, that number? So what kind of restructuring or extension can you do with Aaron Jones? And then it's the whole tricky running back thing, right? Aaron Jones was banged up. Credit to Aaron Jones because that guy was grinding it out for the last few weeks, last month plus. You could tell he was banged up. Ankle, lower body injuries. He was grinding it out. He was toughing it out. So I want him back, but at the same time with running backs, we know when they hit that wall hard. They hit it hard. And it's hard to, kind of forecast that at times. And I'm sure there's going to be some conversation about that. Is there going to be concern about some of the injuries or some of the banged upness, if you will, that Aaron Jones went through this year? Still put up. I mean, he's rushed for the most yards in his career after last night. I want him back. But I think the question's going to be is like, okay, if we extend it or we add more years on to this to lower that cap hit, how can we do that without maybe hurting us by being, stuck with a running back contract? Running back contracts, everybody gets nervous about those, right? Those big running back contracts. That's one of them out there. Obviously, defensive coordinator is going to be something that people are going to look at or talk about this whole offseason. Do they make a move there? Do they make a change there? Preston Smith, for what it's worth, a couple weeks ago, gave Joe Barry an endorsement. Jair Alexander gave Joe Barry an endorsement this last week, calling him a great defensive coordinator. I mean, so those are a couple of your high-profile players. Again, are they probably going to call out their defensive coordinator saying, no, he's a crappy defensive coordinator in public, in the media? No. But at the same time, they didn't have to call him a great defensive coordinator in the media either. They didn't have to use that terminology. But it'll be kind of, it'll be scrutinized, it'll be analyzed and all that stuff about what Green Bay does at defensive coordinator. But I would also say what, other position groups on this thing or other, offensive coordinator, Stanovich. I like Stanovich. Maybe he, first year. All right. Maybe he'll be better in the second year. I don't think they'll make a change at offensive coordinator, even with Nathaniel Hackett out there now. I don't think they will do that. I think they're really hoping that they can keep Rich Bisaccia and maybe another team can't pry him away or anything like that. But, you look at it, and I know Matt LaFleur said after the game, we're going to look at this with a fine-tooth comb that, success covers up a lot of areas. And what he's saying by that, and before any smart Alex out there saying, what kind of success this year? It's the success from the regular season, the previous 3 years that cover up a lot of areas is what he's referring to. So what he said was, that covers a lot of our issues, perhaps, that maybe we didn't notice or didn't take a hard enough look at. Well, now everything's on the table, he said. Everything's under the microscope. And I think part of that is going to be he's going to look at his coaching staff. Does he need to make any adjustments? And if so, where are those adjustments going to come from? I mean, I don't think it'd be a shock to anybody if some decisions were made. That would be another question. I threw it out there before the break, but I think it's a legit question is, okay, say Aaron decides in a couple weeks already to say, I'm coming back. Do you still hold on to Jordan Love? You control it. Green Bay controls the situation. The only thing is they've got to decide on that fifth-year option. I think it's already decided. I think you pick it up regardless. But do you try to cash in? Maybe that stock is high for Jordan Love right now. Look at all these teams that need quarterbacks for crying out loud. Maybe a team will come in with a late first-round pick and offer that. Do you pull that trigger? But then it's like, okay, if Aaron plays one more year, that means you're gonna have to invest in a quarterback early in this draft. I don't think Green Bay trades him, even if Aaron comes back. But I think they'll have to address it with Jordan because, what if Jordan says, all right, Aaron's back, cool, I want out. Jordan doesn't have a whole lot of sway. He can cause a little drama if he wants. But the cap hit for 2023 for Jordan Love is nothing. It's the option year in 2024 that'll be fully guaranteed that if Green Bay does pick it up, I would have to imagine that's when they expect Jordan Love to be the starter. So let's assume Aaron comes back for this exercise. Question will be the Jordan Love future. And again, Green Bay holds the cards, but will they try to cash in if it's selling fairly high? Teams get desperate. However you view Jordan Love on a personal side, teams get desperate when it comes to quarterbacks. We've seen this how many times every year? It's the same thing. It just takes one team to be like, oh yeah, we'll send you a late first round or early second round for that guy. Absolutely. Yep, we'll do it. Just takes one team. Happens every year. The David Bakhtiari one, I think he's back next year. It's cheaper to have him on the roster than it is to cut him, unless you do the whole post-June 1st sort of thing where you split it. But I don't think David Bakhtiari played at a poor level. In fact, he looked like David Bakhtiari this year. You bring him back. He looked pretty darn solid out there. Now, I know there was concern this year regarding his knee on the turf. But you bring him back next year. I don't necessarily think that's a question. The only question would be is, again, if you're all about trying to lower the cap hit, do you add those voided years at his contract to try to lower the cap hit and kind of, push back some of the money, prorate it? But sticking with that offensive line, my question is, who's going to be the right tackle? Is it going to be Yash, or are they going to give it to Zach Tom? Yash, the last couple of weeks, you probably noticed, was replaced. He's been dealing with a shoulder stinger. Whether that's been really affecting his play or the Packers were just like, no, he's just not getting it done. We got to go to Zach Tom. I think the emergence of Zach Tom, it maybe kind of answers that question because Yash is a free agent. So I think Zach Tom is that right tackle. But how do you address that? Like, is how do you answer that question? Is that the answer? Or do you try to bring back Yash? And sticking with the free agents, you've got Alan Lazard, Bobby Tunyon, Keyshawn Nixon. You got those other guys out there too. Where do they fall in the priority list? Where do they fall in that priority list of like, gotta bring that guy back? Or, you know what? Appreciate your time. We're going to look in a different direction. Green Bay's probably not going to have a whole lot of money in this offseason to spend. If we were looking at the numbers earlier, Spot Track, they got a market value of Alan Lazard at $11 million per year. I would be shocked if Green Bay paid $11 million per year. I love Alan Lazard. He's one of the few wide receivers in this league that will do all the dirty stuff blocking at. He's not a number one. I think that's showcasing. That's not necessarily a diss on Alan Lazard. I think he's a great possession type receiver, a nice safety net for Aaron Rodgers. But he's not a number one. He's not a Jamar Chase. He's not a Devontae Adams. He's not a Justin Jefferson. In fact, he's not even a Christian Watson probably at this point. But what do you do? Like, where do you put that priority? If you want, if Aaron comes back, does that priority of bringing Alan Lazard like increase then? And then you look at the tight end depth. Okay, you don't want Bob Tunyon. Well, you got Josiah DeGuaro, who's more like an H-back. You got Mercedes Lewis, who is he going to play or is he not going to play? Tyler Davis, no. So if you don't bring back Tunyon, his market value is apparently around $5 million. Then you really need to address that position in the offseason. That becomes like a top priority. And then I think you have to decide what you're going to do with the safety position in the offseason. Do you bring back Adrian Amos? Darnell Savage, he had some good plays last night. But, I think Darnell Savage, he's got that fifth-year option picked up. I think he'll be back. But, I mean, how much can you trust him? Can he be an every down safety? Can he be that safety that you thought would be a premier player back there? He's got the speed. He's got the coverage. He made some plays last night. He looked like the Savage from like a couple of years ago at the end of the season. But the inconsistency from him has been frustrating and irritating. But what do you do with that safety position? Because it's been very inconsistent this year. Those are just a few of the questions off the top of my head right now. And then, Mason, I thought, had a good, solid year. But and he said after the game that he wants to come back. I mean, his kicks are, even the one he missed that he was short on, dead center. But you kind of wonder now, will Green Bay kind of be like, Mason, you're still accurate as heck. And you're one of our leaders, but maybe they want a guy that's got a little bit more pop left in his leg, a little bit more, can carry that football a little bit more. Maybe. Just maybe. That might be something that they take a look at too. Obviously this season was a downer. It failed in a lot of areas. Preseason expectations, they failed in a lot of areas. If we want to kind of take a look at it from a glass half full approach, there were a few positives to come from this season that maybe have you a little motivated or excited for the future. I'll get to my Monday motivation coming up after the break. But I think the ones that kind of stand out is Christian Watson. People were ready to close the book on him after the first week of the season already. They were, if you weren't, there were some that were ready to close the book on him a few weeks into the season. I saw people saying he doesn't have the right body. He doesn't have the right body type to play in the NFL. He can't catch. He can't do this. He's not an NFL prospect. He went to North Dakota State for a reason. Just some of the most ridiculous stuff that's out there. And then we saw what he did since that Dallas game. I mean, that catch he had on the sideline last night was pretty phenomenal. He's proven to be a guy that you can get excited about. I don't know what his career is going to look like. We don't know if he's going to turn into the next Devontae or a Hall of Famer, or maybe just he's got a couple years in him and such. Who the heck knows? Nobody in the world can predict it right now. But if there was something positive from this season, Christian Watson's one of them. Romeo Dobbs started the season off hot. Ever since he came back from that ankle injury, though, whether it's been because of opportunities or maybe that ankle injury kind of there, he started off hot, kind of slowed down at the end. But you got to at least be excited about the potential of these two young wide receivers. Can the Keyshawn Nixon returning kick return special be a thing for the next couple years if they bring him back? Do they have something there? Or again, was this just a kind of a 1-year wonder? We don't know. But I got to imagine he's going to be high on the list of bringing back and trying to find out. Zach Tom, I mentioned him already. There was a lot of excitement about him when he was first drafted in fifth round, fourth or fifth round from Wake Forest. And it's a guy, he was a center. He played every position in college. Played a lot of center in college. That was the only spot he didn't play on the line this year for Green Bay. Logged a ton of snaps at left tackle. Finished up the season playing right tackle. Logged some snaps at guard. Younger version of an Elton Jenkins, but they got something there with him. I mean, there were some positive stuff. And I think, maybe some people, I don't want to say everybody because there's still some doubts on it. But the little bit that we saw from Jordan Love, maybe that's what's got people like a little bit more intrigued. Like, all right, maybe, just maybe. That was at that Philadelphia. All right, maybe. Just saw Matt Miller, who covers the NFL draft. If you don't have Twitter, but he's ESPN NFL draft analyst and insider. He had just tweeted, if Aaron Rodgers returns for 2023, Jordan Love should ask for a trade. The key is Rodgers has to make that decision quickly. I do think Love would have a decent market given how he looked this year, his age, and his pre-draft scouting report. All right. Let's take a quick break and then we'll wrap things up here this morning. My Motivational Monday, it's a fairly easy one. We'll get to that coming up after these words. We need your ideas. So if you haven't submitted any of the flavor ideas, recipe ideas for our upcoming brats and snack sticks from Mike's Star Markets, hit up sportstalk1051.com. Click on the enter and win tab over there. And then once you do, you'll see that icon there. It says help us create our brat. Just click on that and give us your flavor suggestions for the brats and the snack sticks. And if we pick one of yours, you're going to win a gift card from Mike Star Market. So we know we got one coming out. It's going to be a Man Cave Light Brat, but we need your help in deciding the other ones. So again, sportstalk1051.com. Click on the enter and win tab, and you'll see it right there where you can submit your flavor ideas. All right, it's time to do a little Motivational Monday. Easy one here. DeMar Hamlin. We could have put DeMar Hamlin on the studs, and you would be good with that too. But for me, it's Motivational Monday. DeMar Hamlin. The week from today was when we saw that scary situation on that Cincinnati Bengals field when it was the Bengals and Bills Monday night game. And since then, he's off a ventilator. He's been FaceTiming. He's been tweeting. He's been, posting on Instagram. I mean, you want to talk about motivation? That's DeMar Hamlin right there. And also, I will say motivation too because of like everybody kind of coming together and rallying behind DeMar Hamlin and what we saw on Monday a week ago tonight. If that's not motivating, I'm not sure what is. But to see, the athletic training staff, the paramedics, the doctors, his teammates, others across the league, fans who aren't even fans of the Buffalo Bills, and DeMar Hamlin himself. That's pretty darn motivating. So that makes it an easy motivational Monday for me, DeMar Hamlin. I just saw Quay Walker tweeted out a few minutes ago. I want to apologize publicly about what happened Sunday night. I reacted off my emotions again and take full responsibility of making another stupid decision. Since then, I've questioned myself on why did I do what I did when the trainer was doing his job. I was wrong. I understand I have to face everything that comes with the decision I've made, and I'm definitely paying for it now. Also, to explain my frustration in the tunnel, I wasn't upset about being kicked out. I just knew I messed up again and was wrong for what I did and couldn't believe I did it again. To the Detroit Lions and to the entire training staff, including the person I did that to, I am sorry. There you go. There's Quay Walker issuing an apology through Twitter. And I'm sure Quay Walker is going to face some discipline. The fact that he's been ejected a couple times, I guess I wouldn't be shocked if he's like suspended for the first game next year. I wouldn't be surprised at that. I don't know what the protocol is. I don't know, I know they talk about repeat offenders when it comes to certain penalties in the NFL. And the fact that he's been ejected twice for similar stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if he's subject to suspension next year. Like to open up the season, like he sits out the first game of the year. That wouldn't shock me at all. Speaking of, next year, Nat, the Packers do know who their opponents are. Now we know it's the typical division ones, right? Home and away Vikings, home and away Bears, home and away Lions. So I mean they all know that. But just in case we don't know like the actual schedule though. Like, that comes out before or after the draft. They always kind of it's right before the draft. Yeah, I think it's right before the draft. But anyways, they play the AFC West next year. So we knew that. They're home. So yeah, or no. Not the AFC West. I'm sorry, AFC North, excuse me. But no, wait, yeah, AFC North. AFC North. I said AFC West, right? No, I meant AFC North. I apologize. My bad. That's my bad there. But we do know that they play the AFC North, which is the Steelers, the Bengals, the Browns, Ravens, those teams over there too. Oh, and my computer just like really crapped out on me. Just shut down. So if we lost the video stream, I apologize, but our computer just absolutely just crapped out. All right. Well, anyways, I was gonna go through all the home and away ones because I wasn't quite sure off the top of my head which ones were home and away. But if it loads up here we go. I got it now on my phone. Home is Chiefs. No, I had it right. AFC West. Okay, I need this to be done with. My apologies. Packers 2023 schedule. Home is Chiefs, Chargers, Rams, Buccaneers, Saints, Bears, Lions, Vikings. Away is Raiders, Falcons, Panthers, Broncos, Giants, Steelers, Bears, Lions, Vikings. I thought it was the AFC West, but then I saw something on Twitter right before it busted out on me. Somebody said that the Steelers had to play the Packers in their 2023 schedule, and I'm like, that was AFC West. But so, I mean, they will be playing against Devontae Adams in Devontae Adams' house with the Raiders. Will it be Tom Brady at quarterback over there? Oh boy, this gonna be a weird offseason when it comes to some of this crap out there. But all right, covering the bases here really quickly. Bucks, Chris Middleton already ruled out for the game tonight, going up against the New York Knicks. Serge Ibaka ruled out as well. So we'll see if the Bucks can kind of go on a little bit of a run here. Get off this little schneid that they've been 4-6 in their last 10. But they won't be back home until next Monday, a week from today, when they take on the Pacers. You look at it, you got the Knicks, the Atlanta, Miami. Then they're back home against the Pacers, Toronto. Then 3 days off there. That might really help out, maybe to get Chris Middleton back. 3 days off until they face Cleveland in what could be a really big game coming up on the 21st there. But we're almost halfway through this regular season already. Trade deadline's coming up a month from today, February 9th. Will the Bucks make a move? Will the injuries and these guys missing time, whether it's due to illness and such, kind of factor into whether the Bucks will make a move? So, all right. What else do we got here? National championship tonight. Yeah, sorry, living dream, Jeff. You're the only one riding with TCU. Looks like majority of you saying, nah, don't really care about national championship. Some of you said it's just because it gets overshadowed by the NFL. Some of you are just like, I don't, it's always the same teams. It's always the same teams there, so I don't really get too amped up for it. Kind of paraphrasing everybody, but that kind of seems to be the gist of it all right now. All right, coming up tomorrow, I think what we're going to do in the coming weeks, we might kind of take a look at, Matt LaFleur talked about self-scouting and going through this program with a fine-tooth comb. I think we're going to pick some position groups and kind of go through it with a fine-tooth comb ourselves. And we're going to help out Coach LaFleur going through his program. Some changes he needs to make, decisions, help him out with some of the tough decisions he's going to have to come across or going to have to make. We're going to help him out in these coming days. So we're going to kind of do that every day here. I know we went through some of the questions that they have to answer and all that, but now the offseason officially begins. In an offseason that a lot of questions will need to be answered. A lot of tough decisions are going to have to be made too. Comes to keeping players, comes to moving on from players, all that sort of thing. So, it's going to be a long, long offseason. We'll get to some playoff picks. I think we got a bracket challenge or a pick challenge for the playoffs that we'll put up on our website too. More details to come tomorrow. We'll let you know on that. All right. Well, we'll keep you posted on that one. So, but DP and Danuts are going to be up next. The shot clock looks like it's going to cut me off here in just a few seconds. Tomorrow, it is a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So if you still want to grind your gears about the green and gold, you can do that tomorrow. We got a little bench start cut coming at you tomorrow too, and then pop quiz time for Tuesday. So that's all coming up tomorrow, and we'll catch up with the steel. And then of course RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst. Still lots going down with this Badger football team. More recruits coming. I should say, nope, let me rephrase that. More players coming through the transfer portal right now. And it sounds like more is coming. If we believe Phil Longo on Twitter, the Badger offensive coordinator. Something to be excited about there. Have a good rest of your Monday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6.